Good afternoon, council members. My name is Councilman David Wilkinson, and I'm here to talk about my draft ordinance that will prohibit the practice of sheep riding in the city of San Antonio. So what is sheep riding? Well, sheep riding involves restraining a sheep in a loading pen, then placing a child aged 4 to 7 onto its back. Sometimes the child gets to hold onto a rope, as this one in the picture does. Sometimes the child is just expected to hold on to the wool on the back of the sheep. Then the sheep is released into the arena where the sheep tries to knock the child off its back. The goal for the child is to stay on the sheep for as long as it can before being thrown off while spectators look on. So there have been some critiques of sheep riding since its inception in the 1980s. And one of these critiques is the potential for injuries to young children. Now, here are three types of injuries that can happen. These were all obtained after a quick Google search. One of them, you see a child falling from the sheep. Another one, a child being trampled by the sheep. Another one, a child being fallen on top of by a sheep. Additionally, I have seen, when I have been a spectator at these events, sheep sometimes will ram children into the metal bars on the side of the arena in an attempt to get them off of their backs. Now, typically, and San Antonio Stock Show also engages in this practice, the children are required to wear helmets and safety vests. Some organizations don't require this, but thankfully San Antonio Stock Show does. However, sometimes this equipment is not enough, especially when you consider that the average sheep weighs anywhere between 100 to 200 pounds and can reach a top speed of 20 miles per hour. And when these sheep are in the arena, typically they are going at their top speeds to try to get these children off their backs. In comparison, the children participating in these events are anywhere from 4 to 7 years old and have to weigh less than 55 pounds. Now, this is in stark contrast to many of the other sports that children can participate in, such as hockey. USA Hockey prohibits checking, which is the act of a hockey player running into another person until children are at least 12 years old. Additionally, the US Soccer Organization has banned heading, which is when a child hits the soccer ball with their head for children under 10, and limits heading practice for children once they reach the age of 11 to 13. Furthermore, organizations such as the Aspen Institute and the Concussion Legacy Foundation suggest delaying full contact football until children reach 14, instead playing flag football or other less than full contact versions of the sport to protect their physical well-being. So why is sheep riding this outlier? Suddenly we have a sport that allows very young children, 4 to 7, weighing less than 55 pounds, to be put on the back of an animal who weighs anywhere from 2 to 4 times the weight they do, running at 20 miles an hour with the goal of being thrown off at the end to be potentially injured. It simply seems like too big of a risk that sometimes the safety gear is not able to prevent. In this slide, I have collected a video from the San Antonio Stock Show in the last couple of years, where unfortunately a girl broke her arm during her stint on the back of a sheep. Now, if you are displeased by watching children in distress, I do suggest that you skip ahead. However, I encourage everyone who's watching this to watch the full video to get to see for yourself just exactly what is typically going on in these type of events.
From San Antonio as well. All right, Kennedy, hang on. Guess what? We just saved the best for last. 88 points. She's going to do it. Wow. Wow.
Kennedy's experience, although maybe not breaking her arm, but certainly the experience of being injured is not unique to the sport of mutton busting. In the times that I've spectated this sport, I have seen many children have to be either carried or assisted out of the arena, either limping away or injured in some fashion. It simply is nonsensical to me when I was a spectator, why we are allowing this degree of injury for 15 seconds or less of quote unquote entertainment. Furthermore, in addition to the child welfare aspect of this ordinance, there's also the question of animal welfare. The ASPCA is one such prominent animal organization, which has come out to publicly disavow the practice of mutton busting or sheep riding as a rodeo event because they suggest that this practice does not promote the care or respect for animals. Now, San Antonio, I know, as we have a whole article in our code for the proper care and practice of maintenance for animals, does have a deep interest in maintaining the welfare of animals, which we might need to look at this activity to see if it really does align with what we've already established in our code. So for the new ordinance, it'll be under Chapter 5, Article 3, Section 553 will be the new section. It reads, "It shall be unlawful to mount, attempt to mount, or cause any other person to mount or attempt to mount a sheep for any purposes relating to entertainment, competition, or practice. And a violation of this section is punishable as described in Section 521, which is an already passed section of the code." Now, this language follows other prohibitions on mutton busting, such as a prohibition from New York City or a prohibition from Alameda County in California. I have tried to make it as streamlined as possible to easily slip into our code without too much of, without having to shift many things around. In fact, even the punishment section is already applicable. The punishment section, as contained here, gives examples of fines that can be imposed. And as more offenses occur, more fines are levied. Additionally, it gives the city the ability to secure injunction relief to enforce the provisions of this chapter, including the prohibition of sheep riding, which gives the city an extra tool to stop sheep riding that could occur. Finally, I leave you with a quote from Eliezer Yudkowsky, who has said, "You are personally responsible for becoming more ethical than the society you grew up in." Now, mutton busting was only introduced in the 80s. It's not a tradition with any insanely long roots. And in my opinion, I think it's time to really take a look at this practice, see that the risks for both children and animals alike simply are not worth the rewards of the minuscule amount of quote unquote entertainment one can derive from this sport. And it's time to join the other cities and counties throughout America that have prohibited this act. Thank you for listening to this presentation.